You're listening to Post-Dramatic Stress, hosted by Charlotte D. A weekly podcast to connect creatives and communicate about the highs, lows and laughs of being in a creative industry. Hello and welcome to episode 11 of Post-Dramatic Stress. Today we're going to be talking all about creative partnerships, and why not start off with my wonderful creative partnership, which is with Isabella Jacqueline.
Because I'm obviously wonderful, and because Charlotte and I got on so well when she interviewed me for 2 podcasts once that we were like, why ever not? And we found our creative partnership to be somewhat different, haven't we, Charlotte?
Very different. We're very different people, but I think that works. I think I'm nervous and awkward, and you're very calm and collected. So I think it's working well. I say nervously and awkwardly.
And I think what's important, what we've discovered, is that working together is so important because there's got to be compromises. You know, when Charlotte's just hosting, or you know, when I'm directing films or whatever, it's very much what do you want. But I think when we're working together, it's like, what do we want?
Yes.
So
yes, there is a lot of that going on. And what I want is to introduce my 2 and your 2 and our 2 guests that we have with us today. And we have, so that I don't get them wrong, I'm going to read them from my paper. We have Emilie Lowe, who is a model. She is a writer. She is an actor. She is a director. And she is 19.
Hello, everyone.
I love this girl already.
Me too. Way too talented for my liking. Although wonderful for podcast liking. And then we have Peter Renzullo, who is a director, a music producer. He is a podcaster as well in the past, and a composer, and maybe other things too that I've missed, Peter.
Yeah, I'm 24 as well.
You're 24. You look 20. That's blown my mind.
Wow. And what we love that we can talk to them about today is creative partnerships, because
Yes.
like us, they are in a creative partnership, but they've been at it maybe a little bit longer than us. What do you reckon, Charlotte?
I think that might be very true. Maybe we should start with that, guys. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how you met and how you became a...
It's a very interesting story. So I had pretty much just graduated from high school. I was first semester uni studying script writing, and I had legit no connections in the film industry. I was like trying to contact people, but no go. Like, I think a lot of time in the Perth industry there's like clicks, which is perfectly fine, but it's hard to get into these clicks.
Yeah.
So I was trying to contact people. I didn't have an agent at this point. I just had like iPhone shot headshots, all that stuff.
Hey, we've all been there. We've all started somewhere.
You know the struggle. And I saw this post on like the 5th page of Google, and it was for Peter's film Anticipation, and it was asking for extras, and this was from like 2017. It was 2018 at this point. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to give it a go. So I found him on Facebook, bit of stalking going on there, and gave him
a message. Fans of stalking our guests on the podcast.
Yeah, and I just said, exactly. I just said, you know, here's my resume. I had pretty much no credits at this point. I'd done school plays, and that was pretty much it. And I said, here's my resume, here's my really bad headshots. If you need any extras, I know it's been like months since you needed it, but, you know, I'm here if you please let me be an extra or whatever. And then he got back to me and he was like, oh, I actually have a small role for you. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm an extra. And he was like, you have lines. And I was like,
Dream come true.
I have lines, and it was like amazing, and I was so nervous, and we rocked up and we shot. My character was called Freya. She was like a sassy bar girl, and it was quite a small scene, and we did it, and I had the best time. He was like amazing to work with. It was my first proper time like on set. I'm like, oh my god, you know, I practiced my lines so many times made my family practice it with me. And then I did it, and then it was like so much fun. And then he contacted me a few days later and was like, hey, like, I really like what you did. Do you want to be like a supporting character? And I was like, oh my god, what does this mean? And then he sent me this script, and it had like heaps for my character Freya. I was like, oh, you know, so having an excitement spaz.
So for you, Peter, did you go back and see Emily's acting and were like, and rewrite the script?
It happened twice in this film. The first time, obviously, I had an idea for a plot for this film, as every writer should before they start filming it. But mine sort of evolved a bit because it was quite a linear story. And then when it got to about halfway through the shoot, I had this, again, a bit character come in, and her name's Kate Lloyd. She was in a play, just this one scene, which was a flashback scene to the main character's sister, as the main character's sister. But then again, her performance was really, really great to watch, and she was very, very natural. So I thought, if I can give her a bit more, it might be nice just to give that offshoot of the story with a bit more meat. So I added a few more little scenes that sort of developed into that part of the story. So that was a bit of an offshoot to the original story, but then a few months later, then Emilie got in touch, and then she did, like she said, she came in and did one little bit. But her performance is so again, authentic and very realistic, and I thought there was more avenues for developing her character more. So, and this is very much, if anyone's out there making a film, don't do that. It's a stupid thing to do. If you have a story, you just shoot that. But in saying that, I'm so glad I did.
Good for me.
Totally, and even for the film itself, it's just evolved because it's not a very linear story anymore. It's still a great, it's it's not as convoluted as, say, Pulp Fiction, but it is easy enough to follow, and it does go off in tangents that still relate to the main character.
So instead of like a peaky storyline with beginning and middle and end, we're kind of going on a journey. Yep. Is that what you're saying?
A past journey, and also an element of the character's personality, which was originally not talked about in the first story. We went into that because of Freya's, Emilie's depiction of Freya in the film.
It became like circular narrative.
Essentially, yeah, it was really cool. So that for me, it was awesome because and it's my first time making a feature, obviously. So I was learning along the way. Which again, don't do that. If you're going to start filming, you should know what you're doing before you start.
This is great.
It was good for me.
I love the enthusiasm. It's really good.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Fresh.
People genuinely will love to hear that you're a human being who's like, no, don't do that.
It is. And the only reason I say don't do that is because in my next film, I'm not going to do that at all because it was just it's too stressful. It's 2 years in the making, and I was literally doing this by myself for about probably 8 months before I got a audio technician, Laura Mack, who was able to do the boom operation and stuff. Wow. Otherwise, I'd press record on the thing, make sure things were in focus.
Yeah.
Then go off and hold the boom in front of the thing, get one of the actors to go behind the camera to see that the boom wasn't in shot.
Whoa.
So I was literally doing that for about 8 months. It was insane.
This is how to make a film on a low budget.
On a no budget, totally.
budget.
And how much must you have learned as well?
That's the thing. That's the thing. I was making mistakes and learning from them, and I think I'm going to retain that more than if I just read it in a book on how to do this.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. So for me, it was a learning curve. Luckily, everyone else was along for the ride because it was pretty tough. But everyone's on board, and everyone was sort of new at this too. As Emilie said, it was her first main sort of role of doing something in front of a camera with dialogue.
Yeah.
And 90% of the cast are like that too. It's really cool. So it was cool.
And remind me of the name of the film, just in case people want to go. Anticipation.
We're waiting with anticipation.
We are.
We use that pun a lot.
Right.
This is out now, or it's about to come out?
It'll be premiering in August.
In August.
Yeah,
okay.
I've just got the edit to picture lock, and now it's going to get color graded.
Okay.
Yeah, so a few months to go.
And I'm pretty sure we saw some trailer for that. Is
Oh,
there
yes,
a trailer?
I may have done my usual stalking this morning and seen the trailer, so if I can find it, that means our listeners can find it too.
I mean, you're pretty smart.
There's 3 of them, but yeah, they're all in the
there's
film.
3.
There's 3, but yeah.
Okay. Just to take us back for a minute, I still want to know, I feel like we got really excited about the film, and I want to talk about that again later, but I want to know how you guys became a partnership. Tell me more about the rest of the story, how you started out, you found each other through acting and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Then what happened next to make you team up, and what have you teamed up?
Well, for me, from my side of things, because I obviously through some of I also invited Emilie to give some opinions and criticisms on the film, little tiny edits of scenes and stuff that I did, because I valued her opinion on how it was flowing.
Yeah.
And I found from judging from the way she reacted to certain scenes, there were things that she suggested or had thought about that I was thinking, I was wrong on that too. It was pretty cool. So there was this synergy I found between her and I.
Yeah, it was almost creepy level. We'd be typing, we both send almost the exact same suggestion at the same time.
That's right. Yeah, which is awesome.
Rare to find when you're on such the same wavelength as someone.
Yeah.
What was that like finding someone that was so in tune with you?
Yeah, well, it first started when I sent you my Year 12 production. We talked about that, and you liked what I did, and I was not expecting this at all. We're so different, different gender, different age, different background. You're a muso. I can't sing to save my life. So
Look, it's okay, girl.
And so I really did not expect this. And it was one of those things where the more you talk, the more you learn, and you become so much more open. And I was so surprised. I don't know if you were surprised too, but it was just some beautiful thing that we'd suggest, I've got this idea for my my course, because for script writing you have to do ideas, and I'd send it to him and he'd be like, what about this, what about this, what about this, and then we'd have for Lazy Susan you just had one idea.
That's right.
Instant, and we'd pretty much fleshed out a whole mid-length film in one afternoon, just intense texting.
Yep.
You have to be devoted, I think, to that person, and I want to do well with them.
Yeah.
And if you're at that point, it just clicks and it's like a beautiful thing.
And it does help that because a lot of if you look at the film and you've seen the trailer, it's not a lot of happy moments in the film. I mean, there are light moments. There's quite funny and pretty cringe-worthy moments in it, which is really awesome. But in its essence, it's quite a dark story in a way. But I found with Emilie, she's a very dark soul as well, creatively. It's awesome.
I think we get along well, Emily. I have the darkest sense of
Well, there you go.
Oh, yes, yes.
And I think Bella too. I think you're a bit, we're all a bit
We're
twisted
mutual.
actually. Maybe that's why we've come
Maybe
together.
everyone should just kind of stop listening now.
Yeah, maybe it's going to go to a real dark place.
So it's cool. So yeah, that what you mentioned, Lazy Susan. These are little shorts we're doing. So Lazy Susan's one of the shorts we're doing, and it's again, it's quite a dark story. But I think it's just something about that attracts me to those stories is that sort of side of humanity, which is really uncomfortable in reality, but it's cool to explore creatively. You know? And I found that you liked that too. So that was why we connected really well on that level.
My thing is humanity's sins and like the 7 deadly sins, flaws in humanity, and really addressing them with a symbolic sense. So, and I think you love a lot of symbolism too.
Oh, yeah,
I'm a symbolism gal. I'm an experimental gal.
Totally.
I love that. And a lot of the time I'd be kind of like, should I share this or is it too morbid? And then I share it and he'd be send like the yes gif, and I'm like,
Totally.
He knows what I want.
Yeah. Exactly.
So for you guys, it was just like almost like a love at first sight in a creative partnership.
It totally
was
was.
always going to work.
Yeah, definitely.
Have there been any challenges that you're willing to share? Because you know,
Not really, no. And the thing that I think that why it's working with the two of us from my side of things as well. Any suggestions that we give, we explore if it's going to work or not. We actually give it enough time to be tried out at least.
that's good.
No ideas are shot down completely. If there are ideas we disagree with each other, then we'll say why our side of it we disagree with it.
Yeah.
But there's never a contention. It's always about, well, this is why I don't if you don't understand a certain thing or I understand something you're doing, we explain why.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to be in a partnership in that regard, if you're not open to understanding the other person's point of view, even if you don't agree with it, then it's not going to work. It's like any relationship in life.
Yeah.
I suppose it is life.
Can't be
isn't it?
stubborn.
Yeah.
If you don't look at things from other perspectives, I mean, you're going to be a person that no one likes.
Exactly.
Totally.
And creatives,
So many people do
they
it.
have creative people have a challenge with like letting their idea go. Sometimes I think a lot of creatives like my idea is the best, but a good thing about Peter and I is we are willing to be like, maybe not. Like his idea, I'm going to try it, and then it just kind of snowballs. We're willing to accept things that we would never have thought of. Like as I said, very different backgrounds. Some things he suggests I would never have thought of. Same with him.
Both, yep.
Yeah. So
But
it's
that's so nice. That's probably the best kind of partnership because I think it's challenging those boundaries that you have
Yeah.
as humans. Like we're talking about, you know, all of a sudden you can think about things that you wouldn't have thought of and have your idea challenged. And because when you said like sometimes as creatives we don't want to let go of our ideas, and I just like physically cringe.
You're like, that hits
Oh
home.
no, that's me.
It was me. I was always a solo, like in school, I was like, I'm doing it this way, I'm doing it my way. And then I opened myself to collaboration, which I almost never do, because I think a big thing as well is I'm not used to people sharing the workload, and Peter 100%. He is so helpful. We both share it equally.
Yeah, totally.
Like music, he's got, you know,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of it.
And
as
a
well.
great thing I've also found is that a lot of the ideas I've had that I was so passionate about, if we talked about it and then we disagreed with it, we try it and it doesn't work, I'm not so precious that I say, oh, I still want to do it.
Exactly.
So I think being humble enough to say, well, you know what, the idea was cool, but it's obviously in this context it's not going to work, is really important too. Because
Rather than
what are you
just-
serving, your own ego or the project?
Yeah.
And that's important to know.
Yeah, rather than just keep like flogging it and
Yeah.
thinking, no, we could just change it. We could just make it
Yeah,
work.
exactly.
Exactly right.
You
Exactly.
just all of a sudden you're also missing out on the amazing flow of the energy where it could just go somewhere else
Totally.
with this,
Yeah.
you know, and happen naturally with people actually on board rather
Yes.
than just you like segregating yourself from everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said,
Yeah.
are you doing it to serve your ego or the project? And if you love filmmaking, acting, whatever, you want to make the project as good as it can be.
Yeah. And look, if you're making a film and you're passionate about an idea, of course you need an ego to drive that because you want to, because it's your idea, your story.
Yeah.
But to be open to other suggestions, I think is imperative. Totally.
Less ego probably and more focus.
Well, focus, yeah. Totally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So you guys had a really easy. It sounds like maybe it's not easy. I'm like you guys just had the easiest experience of meeting.
It's probably
it was,
easy in the sense that everything clicked, but surely there were points when, you know, when creatives get together and if you're doing the journey by yourself and there comes those awful low patches where nothing's happening, inspiration is dried up. We've all been there. I mean, I've been trying to write a script the last month and only yesterday has it clicked and I'm like, finally, yes, I'm there. So for those moments, it's so hard to do it alone, but do you guys find that when you have those moments that to actually go back to each other and be like, you know, hey, I'm kind of feeling low. Should we make something? Should we brainstorm something? Do you find that that's really got you out of some dark places?
That is so relevant because that legit happened to me like about 2 weeks ago, and nothing was working, and I'm sure you guys feel the same. Just nothing is happening, nothing's working. Everything you try, you just don't like. And I contacted Peter. I'm like, oh my God, I'm having a mental breakdown. And he was like the best friend ever because I think we're also such good friends.
Yeah.
So much advice. We're like, let's do this. We're doing this next week. We're going to do this. And vice versa. I know you had a problem a while ago as well. And it's that you don't just want to make stuff together. You want to support each other and you want to be friends with each other. And even if you have that co-worker relationship, but there's no friendship, there's no like love for each other and wanting to make each other as good as possible, I don't feel like it's going to be as successful as what we had.
Then it's just a business partnership.
Yeah.
As opposed to being a genuine creative collaboration. You're right. Yeah, exactly it.
It sounds like there's a lot of trust with you guys,
Definitely.
and I think
Has to be, yeah.
I wonder if that's why it's so successful, because you guys can have that moment of being so vulnerable and being like, I'm having a mental breakdown, help me, and not worry about the consequences of that in your relationship. That he's not going to judge you then and be like, oh, well, you know, she's a bit emotional. I'm not going back there again.
I said that pretty, way back when we first started collaborating properly. I sort of made that really clear from the start, that she could come to me with anything as far as obviously even for personal things too, but just with regards to any ideas she has, any roadblocks in her writing, whatever, I'm totally open to anything. You know, because you have to be. If you haven't got that person that you can just do that with, you're going to be really withdrawn with that. And I think I wanted to make it clear with her, I could be that person where she can just open up if she needs to.
Yeah.
I think everyone needs that. I mean, no matter, even though there's 19 years between us, I think it's important to have the ability to talk to someone of that different age group, and still feel like you can get some sort of
perspective, new perspective, and it builds over time. Like, the only reason I trust him so much is he's given me so much to trust. Like, he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. He's going to put his whole heart into it. He's not going to cancel the night before or leave me hanging or anything like that. He's going to be there, he's going to be reliable, and that builds trust over time.
The accountability. I feel that
Definitely.
with Bella. I know that she's just such a professional person that, you know, if she says she's coming, she's going to come.
Yeah.
I'm not going to rock up on a Sunday morning to do this podcast and be like, okay, I'm alone. This is awful. Yeah. So I think that's so important that
Definitely, but for like those suspicious people out there, because, you know, we all obviously have great elements of trust in our souls.
Bella's very suspicious for our listeners out there, I feel.
Yeah, be quiet. We don't need this negativity on this podcast. I am a very trusting person, okay?
Just asking for a friend for those suspicious people out there.
Obviously.
I mean, not me, but...
And then, are you naturally, you know, trusting sort of people? Like, will you trust in a collaborative partnership? Or is it something that you guys really only have now got because you've sort of earned it?
Yeah, I was exactly like you. I legit would not trust anyone, probably because I've had projects where people just have not carried their weight load, or if they haven't put like as much effort in, and it brings the whole project down. So I still am very like hesitant with people, and I don't know if like, oh, are they really wanting to do this, or are they just wanting to be famous, or do they actually care about the art? But like I said with Peter, it starts with like a, you know, just like a mutual like acceptance of each other, and then it kind of grows into a friendship, and then you start working on projects, and then you're like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing, he's willing to put in the hours, he's willing to put in the work. So it always starts at that suspicious level and then it grows, and if they give you nothing to grip onto, nothing to trust, then it's probably going to fade away. But luckily with Peter, he gave me a lot to look forward to. Every day we talk about stuff, it's like excitement, it's what you look forward to. So I feel like it grows. Nothing starts as like, I trust that guy, you know, he's my man.
Yeah.
So it grows,
So it's wisdom as well. It's like choosing that creative partnership wisely, like Charlotte wisely chose me and you guys wisely chose each other.
I would have been crazy not to wisely choose you.
So do you feel like you guys kind of chose each other, or was one of you sort of leading
I certainly
the
felt
dance?
like I wanted to work with Emilie. See, I'm 38 this year. And I've been in the music industry side of things for 20 years. So I've had a lot of experience with trust and mistrust in the creative level with other people over that year. So I know I can sort of see in my mind the cues of when to look out for certain things. And I didn't see that in Emilie at all. I just saw it's a genuine want to do something really creative and really nice. So I saw an opportunity to work with someone who was willing to be really proactive, because a lot of collaborations can start like that, and then it turns out being one's carrying more the weight than the other, and that can be some contention there.
Or you
It's
just
not nice.
brainstorm forever and nothing ever actually
Exactly,
happens.
yeah.
And that's 90% of collaborations a lot of the time when
Yeah.
they start off.
I think
Yeah.
someone has to have the drive and
Yeah.
someone has to have the ideas,
Yep.
or it has to be an equal split.
Yep. Whereas with Emily, I found, like, for example, we'd be discussing an idea, and I might mention like this Lazy Susan idea, which is a story we'll get into, I suppose, eventually. But the idea, I just gave her here's this little nugget of an idea, and she came back literally an hour or so later with some fleshed out dialogue. So you actually took the initiative to just start making something up, and a lot of people don't do that. If they see, sometimes they'll latch onto you and want you to do all the work because they think, oh, this guy's going to do amazing stuff.
Yeah.
I'll just tag along, but with Emily, not at all. She just takes it and runs with it.
It's that next step of not just saying, hey, I really love what you like. You get something to, like you say, to review
Yeah.
from your collaborative partner.
Yep.
It's that next step of not only going, hey, great work, but also here's what I think I could contribute.
Yeah,
or
totally.
here are
Exactly.
my ideas.
And I think
Yeah.
it depends on the motive. If they want to just, be a famous actor, a famous director, just
Yeah.
get someone else to do it. Or if they love the art, they love the creative process, they love the creation, the editing, the hours, the brainstorming,
Yeah.
the killer,
Yeah.
we love that. And
Yeah,
that's
totally.
what we want to do. So I
Totally.
think that's the motivation behind it.
It's just more exciting. I think it's exciting seeing an idea form out
Yeah.
with two minds working on it. I mean, obviously with anticipation, it came from just a full, fleshed out idea. But like I said, there were offshoots as people came along. But with you, it was good because when we start ideas from the get-go, initially the idea is let's both work on something with this. So here's the idea. Now let's see what we both got. It's not a case of this is mine. You can add to it if you want to, but this is my idea. It's never like that with ours. So that's why it really is a collaboration in its truest form.
There'll be like a leader as the person like pitching the idea.
That's right.
But as soon as it's out there, we both just say, what about this? What about this? What about this? It's not like, this is my idea. You can give advice if you want, but we completely create it together.
So, creative control. I feel like there's a lot of people maybe asking for a friend. It might be
Right.
control freaks. You
Yeah.
know, they're out there, strange people,
Strange.
but they exist. And I just wondered what's been your experience in that, like. For me, like, I want to share so much, but also I think I care so much sometimes about my idea, like we were talking about before, that I just can't let the creative control go.
Well, I guess making that idea of really clear at the start. That,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're working with a collaboration, we haven't come across this yet, but when you have an idea that you say, look, this is my idea, I want you to be part of it, but just to be clear, this is my idea, I want you to be part of, not here's my idea, let's mess with it and play with it and make it. But so far, everything we've done has been this is the idea, let's really try and see if it can grow with both our ideas. We haven't come across a situation yet where you've had an idea and you just said, okay, this is what I want, this is the story, this is the plot, this is everything I want in it, I just want you to look at it and just give your opinion. We haven't come across that yet. In saying that, this is obviously from anticipation, I'd have the edit of the film. And I have little ideas, and I really genuinely wanted Emily's input onto what to do with certain scenes. And some of the things she gave has just made the film that much better because of how her perspective on it was more, I guess, fresher than mine was. Because I had the idea 2 years ago. Now you come along 2 years later after seeing the full fleshed out idea, and you said, well, how about putting this scene here that's so early in the film later on to make the audience also be with the reveal instead of just them knowing about it. And that was something that, I didn't really ever think about, but then when she put it forward, it was like, hey, that's a really cool idea. So that's an example of my idea that she tried to change, which actually I'm glad she did. But 9 times out of 10, everything that we bring to the table from the get-go, we know we're both going to share.
Yeah.
If you have an idea that you want to keep that's just yours, it's got to be pretty clear from the get-go you want it to stay yours. Even in collaboration form, just let them know, I want to share it with you, but
have
don't
a
change
vision
it.
and not compromise it. Even if you can compromise the story structure and that
structure's
halfway
fine.
through, not actually compromise the vision halfway through, because then that's when you're going to suddenly clash and be like, excuse me, I'm here and you're there.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
But I think that's about setting the boundaries then. And even that you guys seem to have a very natural way of doing that. But I think there are boundaries there that you guys just know. That, like,
Well, that's right.
This is your level of involvement and this is what I'm inviting you to do.
Totally.
And then there seems to be a lot of respect around that. And then maybe if you're like me, once that process has happened, once you know someone's kind of on board with the vision, you're like, oh, okay. Now I can release.
There's also, I suppose, that we are also our separate entities. So if there are moments where you have your own creative ideas and you want to put it forward, it doesn't have to be part of a collaboration. You just want their input. because you respect them creatively, but you don't want to bring it to the table as the creative collaboration. You just want to say, well, this is my own one. What do you think of it?
Yeah.
That's got to be really clear from the get-go. Otherwise, it can be misunderstanding.
Yeah.
And it's no one's fault. It's just because you're so used to being collaborators.
Yeah.
Suddenly, if you have an individual idea that you bring to the table,
Yeah.
initially you're going to think, well, here's that collaboration idea. Let's mess with it. But if you want to keep it yourself, make it really clear.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes as a screenwriter, you'll find that you will have an idea and you'll have it written out and you'll be like, you know what, this is so relevant right now and I just know this will do well. And for me that happened with a short film that I did recently, whereas I just couldn't get anyone on board this thing because they were like, it's a black comedy about sexual assault. No way, won't touch it.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it was going to do well. And now it's picked up, 15, 20 awards. And it's only been competing for a while. So I'm like, you see, so it was that point of knowing, no, I'm not going to compromise on that because I know it does have potential. And how do you guys find that? You haven't really found that point yet where you've been like, nah, one of you's been like,
No,
it's
they'll-
different.
What
But
I like
how
to
would
do,
you
yeah.
feel like you would know that if that happened?
Well, I am actually quite a control freak. I'm sure you found in some of my messages.
Yeah.
Especially, I think a lot
I'm
of
not.
creative, especially females tend to be more, because we know what we want and we get it.
Maybe we have to fight harder as well.
exactly,
I feel
exactly.
Sometimes, like to be heard.
Which is
That's
why
my-
Peter is so
Especially as
good.
young females.
Yeah, exactly. And which is why I was a bit more, because obviously we're very different. And then you were so open and you treated me like exactly your equal, even though I'm a lot younger, I haven't had experience behind a camera. And you treated me like legit equal. And I felt like that is what I can work with.
Yep.
And I think what you need to do with boundaries is just say you want to make a comment on the corruption of youth or something. You say, this is what I want the comment to be. This is the style I want and this is the theme I want. And then you can work with that. If you don't have an exact style or theme you want, you can be a little bit more flexible. But if you want that, like with your genre and things, you say, this is what I want. We can work around it, but this is what I want to portray to the audience. And that's why you're so good is you say, okay, I get that you want that. Now let's work around, let's work the dialogue a bit, let's work the setting, but we're going to keep that theme the same.
Yep.
And you got to be like, not really pushy, not like this is what I want, but saying, I think this would be good because blah. And if you can explain it and you know what you want, and if you have a good collaboration partner, they should be very understanding of that.
Yeah, and then maybe the why, even if it's a different vision than what you'd initially intended that it ends up to be, the why is still in there, and maybe it's just translated helpfully, hopefully, through your creative partner.
Exactly.
They've helped you to still achieve your why, but maybe in a way you'd never thought of achieving
And
it.
you need to be challenged as a filmmaker, actor, whatever you are. You need to be challenged, especially by someone who's different to you.
Yeah,
if you're
yeah.
in your same group of, if I was all around teenage girls all the time, they'd probably think, yeah, that's great. But someone who's so different to you might say, I've kind of had different experiences. You're not portraying males the way I like, or older people the way I like, or musos the way I like. This is more realistic. It'll create a better film, and it is hard to be open to change your idea. I totally get that, but if it makes the film better and it gives more perspective, I think that's a win-win.
And I think that's very true because you don't want to, be a young listener, in case you're any of them out there, like me and Emily.
Side of the table, I'm 34, you're 38, and then you guys are the young ones.
See, that's why we're taking
All young at heart. We're all young at heart.
And that's perfect that we are across the table from such age gaps. And I think, and we're all getting on so well and we're doing stuff together. And I think that's the thing, don't, just graduate high school and take off with your bestie and start making stuff because it's nice, but it is going to probably be very one-dimensional content, isn't it? Because when you have different life experiences, different age gaps, it's quite powerful when you can pair up and create something that's very different.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think your personal growth will be better as a human being. That humans challenge each other, and it challenges you, and just the amount of experience that you can get from someone else, I think, is just so important. If you can be open in the way that you guys sound like you so successfully are. That is something I am really open to. I love how people can change you and open you up to these ideas that you just never thought you'd have. And challenge your belief systems.
Exactly. Challenge you. The more perspectives you have, the more fully fledged and realistic, most likely, the film will be.
Because that is film anyway. It's a challenge of perspectives, challenge of reality. It's meant to be you sit there and you think about it and it changes you. Because if it doesn't, it probably didn't do something right. Let's be honest. I'm sure anticipation will be fine, guys.
Let's hope that's what happens,
We're definitely going to talk about some of your projects soon, because I want to hear more about, how this creative partnership has led you and what it's done. In fact, let's just talk about it.
Yeah.
Where has this creative partnership taken you? Like, what have you created together? Tell us more about your projects and what you've been doing.
Well, we just finished up filming a short film called Dog Eat Dog World, which we had some good fun
That was
with.
cool, yeah.
Yeah, and I wrote that one, and Peter gave me some great advice. He shot that. He was like the cinematographer behind that. And that's why it works, because one of us will do the script and someone will edit it, someone will do the directing, someone will do the music, someone will do the acting, everyone shares it equally.
Yeah.
And I think that's also the case with Elvira,
Yeah.
which we've created, which started from a dress. I sent him this really awesome Victorian dress, and I was like,
Wow.
dang,
The
this looks
story for
cool.
Jacqueline.
Yeah. He was like, this looks like a vampire
Is
dress.
that's your pilot episode?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Stalked.
So let us come and play.
Be part of it. And we're raising money for that right now.
Oh, how are you raising money? Tell us.
So what's it? It's possibly.
I think it's possible. I think it is the
Yeah,
possible.
with the double
yeah.
Z, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And we've got
Another month to go.
3,000 out of 5,000 now.
Raised.
Well done.
Yeah.
Jump on there, guys. They can almost get there.
Yeah.
Stay there for a minute. So that's kind of a creative partnership in itself. It's a partnership with the greater, wider audience. So how
definitely.
did you do that? How did you fundraise in that way?
So we wrote a really small kind of segment that we were going to add, and we filmed it. He did amazing sound work, and that was a lot of collaboration on that. He
Totally.
sent me one thing, I suggested this, he bounced off that,
Yep.
added this, added that, and it ended so differently to what we originally planned. We put that up. He's got heaps of connections in the music industry. I know quite a few people like my age, no one really in the film industry, but
Yeah.
like people who are really supportive. Yes, Mum.
I love that.
And then so we sent it out, and we were like, oh, we've got some like prizes, not prizes, what are they called? Like
Well, incentives.
Pledges,
Incentives,
yeah,
I mean, we
incentives.
basically filmed a teaser of what this story is about of Elvira. So Emilie was dressed up in a thing. My sister's a great special effects makeup
she's
artist.
so good.
Oh,
So
wow.
we got her to do all the proper things, and one of the characters from the my film Anticipation is also in this little teaser. In fact, quite a few of the actors in that are going to be in this Elvira thing. So it's kind of I guess a Tarantino, Buscemi sort of thing. They're all the usual friends are in the same films. So
Well, that's a creative partnership too.
yeah,
Also,
so basically,
Perth
yeah.
is a creative partnership,
Well, it
isn't it?
is.
It's a small little
very
knit
small.
industry. We all
Yep.
know
Yeah.
each other.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
what's so great is we are so open to letting anyone who's passionate and has that drive to be a part of it. You
Yeah,
know,
like,
like
yeah.
if you want to be a part and you have something to offer and you click with us, got the passion, we're like, heck yeah, come on board. We want to support everyone in this
Yep. Yeah.
industry, give as many people chances as we can.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
same
amazing.
with like how your sister, then she knows people, then they know people, then they know people. The more people you know, the better connections you have.
And I think when you've got that kind of energy on a project, you attract the right kind of people.
Yeah,
I
I
know
think
that
so.
sounds a bit hippie and spiritual, but I do think it's true. I think what you create, you attract, or what you attract, you create. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but that energy will naturally go out there, and the people that don't have the same will really, drop
Yeah,
away.
definitely.
The ones that are on board with you will naturally come on board, and hopefully.
It is a sort of very refining process. Like, for example, with the experience in the film I was making, there was quite a few people that I got on board initially who were I suppose friends in the industry, but they slowly lost interest and they left, which is fine. But then there's ones that came along that were like just I'd never met them before, but they'd seen like Emilie, like they'd seen the idea, the film page and what I was doing, and they got in touch just randomly to be part of it, and then they ended up being my biggest supporters. So I have found that this is almost I suppose it's quite rude, but it's a weeding process to get the ones that you really want to work with.
Yeah.
It's really it's as simple as that in a weird way, that you do this for 2 years, you're going to find the ones that really want to work with you will stick with you. The ones that don't, they go, and there's nothing wrong with that, but they're the ones that don't really click. And
Yeah.
I suppose it's different levels too. Like, if you want to shoot something over a few months, just quite casually, then I suppose
Compared
your
to
super
years.
professional film crew are going to be like, well, we want dates and we want... Because that's fine, they've made it in their little area,
That's
they're
right,
off
that's right.
shooting. And then there's all the newbie graduates and that are like, nah, like, give us a film set. So I think that's also good. And it's like different processes, different aspects of the creative journey. And it's great that you guys have been able to assist that original aspect, which will, ignite that fire that will then hopefully continue into a streamline. And then they'll hopefully, be on projects down the track, which are quite locked in. And as they get older and more experienced with a CV, such as things that you've been doing.
I think the weeding out is a nice is it's a realistic.
It's pretty accurate.
Thing. It's
with some people.
it's, you have to do it, and that's brings me to my next theme, conveniently, of choosing new creative partnerships wisely. I think that is an important thing, because you want to work with the people that are going to support you and challenge you and be on board with the vision that you have and that you try and create. And it sounds like you guys have chosen very wisely, because you're getting so much out of your relationship.
Yeah.
But maybe, I don't know if you guys have had any experiences where you maybe haven't chosen so wisely. You
Absolutely.
don't have to mention names, but
No.
Has there been things that have gone badly, and why? And
Well,
what did you do?
Half the plot of the film, the anticipation, is based on real things that happened in my past, in the capacity as a studio engineer and also as a musician.
Yep.
And the choices that were not great and that I just stupidly stayed with because it didn't, I guess it was just young and naive. And young doesn't go with naive, by the way, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying because I was young and I was naive to the idea that there are people out there that won't just behave your best interest
It's
in
hard
heart.
to let them go.
Yeah, and also you just don't realise that there is another option, that there will be someone else that might come along and who is actually better for your purposes, and in my case it was the music industry. But yeah, so for 20 years I've been learning that, and also seeing the visual cues. There's certain things that people have in their personality that I now recognise, well, that could probably lead to issues later on.
Right, yeah.
And it's more to do with, I suppose, like we were talking earlier, about the level of control and allowing to give a certain level of control.
Yeah.
And also there's certain things that I've had the benefit of experience in life to see that that's going to happen before it happens with some people. So I found with them it was easy because I could see straight away there wasn't that.
Yeah.
There wasn't any presumptions there with regards to her trying to take control of what I was doing, or even that there was any fear of me trying to control what she was doing. Because I just knew where I wanted to sit in this, and I think Em was the same from get-go.
I think it's also, like I said before, motive. Like, why are they doing this?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people in just the industry in general say, I want to be famous, but I don't really want to put in the work. You know what I mean? You kind of get that a bit. But with him, it was like, I don't care if my name's on it. I just want to make art. I just want to make film. I enjoy it. So if you enjoy it, I personally haven't had any bad collaborations because I haven't really collaborated much, besides Peter out of it. I've done some, but I've only kind of been in the film industry for a couple of maybe half a year or something.
Yeah, sure.
But I'm totally open to letting people in and everything like that. And I think you have to give them a chance, and if you click, you click. If I hadn't have given Peter a chance, he hadn't given me a chance, this never would have happened.
Totally.
And if they just want the fame, if they just want the name on the credits, if they just want to be the star, then for me personally, they're not going to work with my interest and my motive. They might for other people, but knowing what you want from it. Do you want to make art? Do you want to make a comment? Do you want to just enjoy what you do? Yeah. I think knowing your motive is the best way to avoid bad collaborations.
Okay, interesting. Would you agree? Is that you're saying you've picked up all these
I agree, because I've come from a level of 20 years of experience of that. Whereas Em's she's green to this. You took me out of high school 2 years ago, and you'll find, and so your sentiment is very true, that you'll find that there are certain people who will want to reach a goal, and they'll see that you can get them there. But without them putting up much work in. Exactly. And I can recognise those people straight away because of what I've dealt with in 20 years.
How do you recognise them?
I just see that, there's certain things that they'll say at certain points of our collaboration, or certain behaviours they'll do. For example, a lot of it is going to be where they'll be super enthusiastic about a certain idea, and suddenly when it comes to delivering it, they'll have some issues they can't really talk to me about, but they want to still be part of it, and they really they become, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's quite a nuanced thing, but it's very obvious that they're going to start pulling out or pulling away because they realise that what you're doing isn't going to benefit them too much. But I don't know, you just straight away.
I know what you mean.
Totally. And I think
there.
through the process of experience, you start seeing that more. Yeah. And you have to go through that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But so what I've found with when I look back, we haven't even collaborated for a year yet. I mean, it was July last year you sort of got in touch first.
Yeah.
It feels longer.
I know.
But in a good way, I think I just find that I've connected with them really easily. And I think the reason is because there is no real pretense to you. You put in the effort. Like I said, I'll bring an idea to you, and before I even get a chance to say, well, what do you think about doing this? You've already come back with dialogue of this.
What do you think?
It's
of
awesome.
This? Yeah.
You're passionate about doing it, and you're passionate about doing the work, not just about the idea of being part of it. You actually wanted to be part of it and be visibly active in it.
Yeah,
right?
and if you love what you do, you'll gravitate to those people that just love it. And with Anticipation, you started with pretty much you were doing it just by yourself, and now you've got sponsorship from Black Magic Cameras. You've got screenings, you're on the news, and I think if you find that person and you're passionate with them, it does pay off in the end. So even if it takes 2 years, if you love it, if you enjoy it, it's going to be good.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is going to come down to, isn't it? Slightly, defining that love, because, love in life, we all have a different idea of what love is. And I think Love in Korea, it's the same thing. Everyone's, everyone can be involved in something and it will get to a result. And one person's like, oh my God. And one person's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Because we all do have that different idea of what works.
I just think if what you're doing yourself and what your creative work is doing gives you goosebumps, you're doing the right thing.
Interesting.
And if you can't go
Pretty
to sleep
simple.
because you're still giving you ideas.
That as well. Yeah, totally.
So many
totally.
sleepless nights.
Yeah.
And you're like,
It's
what
true.
about this?
It's
What
true,
about
though.
this?
What do
And
the
you love it.
goosebumps tell you?
I reckon they tell me I'm onto something.
How does it, like,
Personally, I'm
what
onto
does it feel?
something.
Is it like a gut feeling? Like, is it just,
It's
what
like
is it?
when
Is it
you
like
see-
like a nice goosebumps feeling, or is it like a...
It's when you see that
What is
moment
it?
in a film that you think, oh my God, and
Yeah.
your hairs go back on the back of your neck, or
Yeah.
you realise that something is connecting with you in that moment.
Yeah.
And I think if you can achieve that through something you created, or something that you brought to the table and someone else has said, how about try this? And when you do it, it's like, oh my God, that's exactly what it needed.
And that's what you
Then
guys
you know-
get from each other.
I got that from the
partnership.
one particular moment in Anticipation that
Nice.
It is
that
nice.
I mean, there's a scene where there's a reveal that what I initially had thought was to have the audience know what happened to the main character's sister from the very beginning, and then when it gets to the end of the film, you're wondering, oh, is he going to find out? Is he going to find out? So that was my idea, but what Emily thought was to actually just remove that from the start of the film and put it right at the end, so the audience discovers that right at the end as well. So it's a surprise for everyone. And when I did that, the way it flowed was just so amazingly better, I found. Again, there was that goosebump moment. It was like, this is what it needed. And I didn't get that myself. I needed her to input into that moment. Even though it wasn't a collaboration, that film, just the fact that she recognised that was an option that could be making the film better. And I ran with it. It worked so well.
It's almost like an art form itself.
Collaboration.
Isn't it? It really is.
It sounds
like,
complicated. I mean, just between us, like, they can hear that.
It's hard to explain it to someone. Like, you know what I mean? Like, his film, I'm just the actor in it. I'm not a producer or a writer or anything, but I still want to make his work as good as possible. So I'm willing to give that advice for not expecting anything. I just want it to be as good as possible.
You just want the best for this person in their project.
Definitely.
And I think there's also lines, like, depending on the level of project you're on or whatever, there'll be projects where you'll get on there and it's like, no, you're the actor, you
That's right.
don't say anything.
That's right.
And, I've been on projects where you'll be like, something as simple as, I feel like this one line's wrong, I feel like the objective, perhaps we're on a different page, and they'll be like, look, I appreciate that, but just do it, because I'm the director and I have the vision of the whole film at heart. You little actor are just looking at your little character and no, okay, you don't know, we're not on the same page, do what I say. And it can be quite detrimental for a creative person, but I think when you see the end product, you can often be like, no, they were right.
Yeah, exactly
So I
right.
think it's often being able to, have you found that being in a collaboration has made it harder going onto normal film sets and that, where they're like, literally, do not collaborate? Have you found that a little bit jarring?
Yeah, I have, because I always have like something to say, but I'm like, just do it. But I think it's trusting the person, and the bigger the film, the more effort, trust, things like that. But with Peter's, it was such a fun set. You could have banter, you could talk, but with these ones, obviously, it's very like, just say your lines, don't interact that much with certain people. So I think the setting of the scene and the place you're filming really impacts if you're able to talk up or speak up or give advice. But both are good. Like, both teach you. One teaches you to be creative and, speak your mind. The other one is more like, do your job and just focus on yourself and focus on what they've given you and don't try and change things because you believe it's better,
And perhaps doing just one or the other could be detrimental mentally, because you're either feeling like a little squash puppy that can't get anything right and can't make any decisions, or you're feeling like a god and like, oh, I can do anything.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's probably really healthy to have that mix. Like,
Well, see, for me, I started off in the industry as a score writer. So I was told literally for scene to scene, minute to minute almost, what the director wanted me. He'd sit in with me actually as I wrote the score. Jordan Prince-Wright, when I wrote the score for his first feature, Decadent Depraved.
We were talking about Jordan last week.
Oh, were you in it?
We want to
my God.
entice
I
them
thought you
to
were
be
familiar.
Yeah, so I actually acted in that. I was the damsel in distress.
That's right.
Because if everyone doesn't know, it was a Western film.
Exactly right.
It was the biggest independent film to come out of Western Australia, in fact. So.
It totally was. And it's even still doing the rounds at certain festivals and stuff. But that was an experience I found that, and also just the way Jordan would explain for me to do something musically was not from a musician's point of view. So he'd say, "Oh, make that one there a bit sort of more sparkly." So did you mean more sort of like trebly, more sharp on the ear? He goes, no, I want more twinkly. So what
does that mean?
And luckily I'd made 4 of his short films first, so I managed to find his ebbs and flows pretty easily by the time I got to that. But it was literally, he'd sit there with me, and I'm glad he was. Minute to minute of every scene in that film, I'd work out what he wants for the score. He'd tell me what he wanted in there, and that was great. I was literally being guided by him what he wanted in the score. Simple as that. But when it came to doing anticipation, obviously that was suddenly my baby. I had to just start making this thing work, you know.
Yeah.
So in a way, I was looking for advice from other people as well. But it was also, I was quite precious of this because it was my story, and also a lot of my personal experiences in this film that were from my life. So. But then when it came to things like when it came to the edit and where things should fit, I don't think I would have taken much from anyone else apart from Emilie, because I just trust and respect her more.
Yeah.
From a creative little, I think it's easy. I think if you have that genuine respect and genuine care for the other person, what they say about your film has more credence. Because you think, well, they're coming from a place of care as well. They want to see this thing do well.
Yeah, they're actually in the project.
Yeah,
they're not just
exactly
there for themselves. They want the best for you. And,
So in a weird way, if someone had suggested what she suggested with that scene I was talking about, I may not have even really thought about doing that because of the person it came from.
Because you have to build up the trust with the person first.
Totally.
Because you're not going to just have someone off the street walk in and
That's
tell
right.
they might not know what they're doing, right?
Because I believe Emilie feels invested in this film, that she really wants it to do well. So when she suggests something, I take it with more weight than someone else who's just sort of a bit character who came in for one day and I haven't heard from them for months. All of a sudden they think, oh, what's happening here?
And that builds over time. Like, you're not going to go, bam, first message, I'm working with that
That's
person.
right, that's right.
It builds and you suggest things and you find that flow or you don't.
Yeah.
And with D&D, that was before I even started acting, so I didn't even know about the film.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And then you said, and I was like, oh my God, and I researched it, I found you on Instagram, and that's how I found everything.
We met, stalked each other.
And like,
so much stalking happening
Yeah,
in this room.
Small town.
and that it gives you new ideas, it gives you new things you never would have thought of. I never would have even known about that film, and now I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
All this stuff, you know, things like that. So it just gives you so many new opportunities, new perspectives, new skills. I can't do music at all. And he offers so much. He shows me something. I'm like, oh, I love that little quiver part. And he's like, oh, it's actually called this.
Vibrato,
And I'm
yeah.
like,
You're fine.
learning things, yeah. And now I feel like I could hum a tune.
Yeah, there you go, exactly right.
Look, we're at the 45-minute mark, but I feel like we've got so much that we've talked about and so much that I could keep talking about, but I'm going to have to start wrapping us up.
Yeah, that's cool.
So there's 2 things that I'd like to know about. Like, I think the second thing is we want to hear more about what you're doing right now and where we can find it. But the first thing before we answer that question is I've started, it's a bit of a new thing that we started last couple of episodes that haven't been posted yet, but we've been asking our guests
A question.
and I was wondering about keeping it the same because we've done it twice now.
Yeah.
And the question has been, what do you wish someone had told you? Like, what advice do you wish that you'd had when you first started? I just think that's
Right,
great
you go
question.
first.
yeah.
Ooh, put me on the spot.
Thanks, Belle.
I would say that not everything works. Like with script writing, school drama, they put this vision out there that everything you're going to make is going to be amazing. It's going to click, it's going to flow, but I personally have found that it doesn't work. And sometimes it's good to just let it go. If you really, really love it and it's just not working, put it to the side, come back to it. But some things just don't work, and they don't work with like what budget you have, what money you have, what people you have, and you can put it to the side and work on what you have the ability to do. But some things don't work. Sometimes you don't get the role. Sometimes you don't make the script, and you can be down. What I do is I'm down for a day, and then boom, I'm back at it. It's completely natural, I think, in this industry to have big setbacks and to have like a slap in the face, and that's completely natural. I'm sure everyone feels that way,
Everyone gets tough skin, put it that way, or they go under.
Like it's really big wins in the industry and really big lows. So, have a low, eat some ice cream, watch a rom-com, and then move on, and then focus on what you want to achieve.
That's a very important ability, I think, in our industry, to be able to take those knocks and not take them personally.
Yeah,
because I think a lot of, especially newbie actors, directors, whatever, they do take it so personally, and then they're put off the industry when the industry wants them and needs them. They've got a fresh perspective, a fresh voice.
Yeah, this is exactly why, this is like you're reading my post-traumatic stress bio. This is exactly why I wanted to create this, because we do have these highs and these lows in this industry, and then we just go home and we don't often have the ability to share them and go through it with someone. So I love the fact that we're starting to talk about it, and I love the fact that you guys have a creative partnership where you can share that, and like you said earlier, you have your mental breakdown and have someone to support you, because it's so important. We don't talk about the highs. I mean, the lows.
Yeah.
We talk about the highs all the time.
Yes.
It's all over our profiles, and look how well I'm doing. But what about the lows? Like good stress and bad stress. It
Because
needs to be discussed.
we're humans, and I think like the important thing with this podcast is you can listen to it and you can be like, oh, you know, I'm not by myself, you know, everyone's going through this. And I think it comes down to just that thing in life, you're never alone, never feel like you're alone, because you're not, you know, people are going through the same stuff you are, and if you just reach out, people are willing to listen, or if you don't want to reach out, you know you can get through it, because everyone out there at the top has been through what you're going through now, and they've all made it.
Yeah.
So
And like I'm only kind of new to this, so it was kind of the first big like low I'd have, and I was like, oh my god, like I'm a failure, all this stuff, no one else feels this way. And then I contacted Peter and I was like, help me, and he was like, I completely understand, like this is what happened to me before, this is how I got over it. And I was like, oh, I'm not alone. So having someone who can be not just like, oh, move on, you'll be fine, they actually understand and they want to help you, I think is so important. It's like not just a collaboration, not just a partnership, it's friendship, which I think works so well.
They get it,
that's lovely.
Same question for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, it relates so beautifully, because what I'd say is if I had known that the advice you're given, positive or negative, is coming from people who have probably experienced the same thing.
Yeah.
But also, it's probably coming from people who probably don't even don't fully understand what you're going through. So in a way, you've got to take everything, positive and negative, with a grain of salt. And really, it's a theme with my film, is that the most important person to back in life is yourself. If you believe that you are going to fail, then no one as positive as they are will be able to stop you from failing. It's totally on you. And you know, vice versa. If you really think you're going to make it, and everyone's telling you no, you can't, like you can, you will. You totally will. It's really about just getting yourself in that mental position where no matter what advice you get, take it on board, but don't take it as gospel. You've got to believe that you can achieve that yourself. If you don't, then it's just going to put roadblocks up, and you can't get rid of them because you're the one putting them there. So it's important to really back yourself. So for me, I think I tell myself to do a lot less of that, a lot less of relying on opinion about what I'm doing to guide my choices from then on.
Like if someone says, oh, you're doing a great job, you need to feel like you're doing what you want.
And look, don't get me wrong, it's nice to hear that. And sometimes in life you need to hear that. You need to hear that you're doing a good job. Because sometimes when you're feeling self-doubt, it's irrational. You shouldn't be feeling that self-doubt. So someone's got to tell you you're right. But most of the time, if you're imposing that on yourself, you've got to be the one that's got to drag yourself out. And if you're relying on others to do that, then it's going to just form a pattern that it's going to be hard to get out of. So seeing someone trying to help you is really important, and seeing that they really care is important. But if you can't do that to yourself, it's going to be a constant battle.
And that person probably won't be around, because people treat you the way you treat yourself.
That's right.
So if you're like full of self-hatred, self-pity, and just everything about you, you're like, I'm inadequate, everyone else is going to treat you like that, so you won't even have that person. But if you stick up for yourself and you're like, I can get through this, then you reach out to someone and they're like, I can see that person wants to get through this, so then they'll put the time in.
Absolutely.
And we have had one, it was like a few weeks ago, we did have one disagreement. This is like the first time we've ever had a disagreement on an idea.
We love this.
And,
Tell us everything.
and like, we just weren't clicking on the same idea, and I was probably being a bit like, no, you should do this. And then he said, like, I was like, I just want it to be as good as it can be. And he made a really good point. It's like, I'll try them both. You know, I'll do a bit of this and a bit of that, and then we'll see what works. And I think that's why, because I can sometimes be a little bit, you know, creative control, but he is so good with just saying, yeah, you can.
A woman after our own heart, Charlotte.
But I think what makes it work, in all honesty, is how flexible he is. And if I was with someone who was like, nah, I'd probably be a bit turned off working with them. But really, I feel like what works in this collaboration is how flexible he is and how willing.
No, about both of us.
No. It's you.
No, she's telling you no.
And he doesn't see me as like a 19-year-old girl who's still in uni, you know, just graduated school. He sees me as, well, hopefully, sees me as like a creative partner that he can work with, share the same ideas, want to put a story out there. And if you have that mutual respect, and one person probably will be more flexible than the other, and I'm sure that's just in relationships in life.
Yeah.
Someone's going to be more mellow, someone will be more enthusiastic, someone will be more, not aggressive, but, you know, pushy, someone will be more willing to see it. You need that. You need
part of
a bit
dynamic.
You need that. If both of you are the same, like same gender, same age, same family background, same everything, it's not going to be as good as it can be.
Where's the challenge, and how are you going to grow?
Need to be challenged.
And even in the softer person, I think there's there's a lot to be learned, you know, because maybe that's a little bit of what you need potentially, and you're like,
Definitely.
he doesn't approach that in the same way. He doesn't just say, no, this is what we're doing. He tries to, or whatever it is, you know. I'm not saying that's you, but,
I feel that, and he's taught me so much about like taking on board other people's criticisms. Back in year 12 when I made my film, which won a lot of awards, I was like, oh, it won because I did it all myself. Like, you know, I would never work with someone else. And then now I'm like, I couldn't imagine not coming to him and saying, what do you think of this? You know, do you have any advice? Because I just value it so much.
That's cool.
And it's taught me so much about working with people that I wouldn't have known if I didn't meet him.
Awesome.
Guys, it's like a love fest in here.
So what we need right now is your socials so that all our lovely listeners can do what we did and stalk you.
Sweet, that's cool. For me, it's just feature film anticipation on Facebook. That's what you look for there, and also on Instagram, feature film anticipation.
Wonderful.
And that's where you find. And obviously, and also.
Are there other ventures though that we should?
Yes, well, there are. There's also Elvira. It's currently called Elvira TV series, which is obviously that's our most current one that's in
tell us a
possible
little
production
bit about
soon.
that. What is that?
So the basic idea is there is this young woman who's living alone, is a bit of a hermit, but once a year she opens up her house to let people through like a little guided tour of her house, and she's a bit of a running joke in this town. Like, who is this woman? You know, got this massive house, and she's running this, and it's a bit of a quirk in the house
People go to
town
kind of
she
take
lives
the
in.
piss sometimes, and
yeah,
get
exactly
some
right.
unsavoury people going in there, and she's kind of had enough. And there's a lot of reveals that she's not exactly human. And we have a whole thing set in the 1800s, going to reveal some past. As he said, his sister's really good at gore makeup, so hoping to utilise that.
So we should be looking at the prosthetic makeup side, guys. Makeup artists, watch.
Yeah, and we would love to have
criticise.
anyone on board. If anyone wants to be like an actor and a music person, and what are they called? Musician person. Composer. That's it. Producer, sound lighting. We will totally have anyone on board who's passionate.
I'm like, I love like dark twisted things.
Yes.
All that
And there's a
stuff.
lot of it's like a bit of comedy, but mostly a horror.
It's a dark comedy. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's
that's
like
right.
a dark horror
Exactly.
comedy, and so if you don't have a strong stomach,
Where do we find it again? Sorry.
It's called Elvira TV series.
it's linked on my
Facebook?
Instagram page.
Facebook. Sorry, Facebook.
And
yes.
what is your Instagram
Oh yeah,
page?
so at Emilie _Lowe LOWE at Instagram.com.
And you will see that we're mutuals.
Yes. If you go to her
that.
profile, I've liked every picture.
Don't tell them.
We'll definitely put the tags on Instagram later today.
Beautiful,
and
thank you.
Tag you guys. I have genuinely so enjoyed talking
It's
to
been
both
great.
of you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you
so
for having
much.
us.
Is there any last words that you wanted to cover before I wrap you up? Like a little present.
Just be open to working with people. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but you'll never know if you don't try. If I wasn't open to putting my name out there and being like, would you like an extra? This never would have happened. So if you're a actor, director, writer, and you feel like you've got no connections, go on Facebook, look at the Perth Film Network page, go on YouTube, Google everything. It might be on the 10th page. But if you find that, you follow it up, it can lead to some really amazing things.
Because I don't think there is any excuse in 2019 not to be doing stuff if you want to. It's all
Thank God for
procrastination.
social media.
It really is. And just I was at an actor friend's birthday last night, and there was so many other actor people there. And what really struck me is, as a group, actually, we're really great at networking because we're so used to being out
Promotion
there.
and stuff.
Yeah, I just think we are. We're really friendly people, actors, I think, because we love to get to know people and the human thing. So just talk to someone. Like, I met 5 new people last night that I didn't know. Just go up to them. Don't be afraid to just be like...
Go up and give them a hug because that's what actors do.
But at least go up and say, hey, hi, tell me about yourself.
Yeah.
I'm Charlotte.
And
I just wanted to meet you.
Yeah, like when I first started, I had no one, and I was like, oh my God, I see all these people with all these groups. It's so hard. But then you got to knuckle down. You got to get on Facebook, get on Instagram, send them a message. Share the love, support them, and they'll support you. And when you do make it, maybe do support the underdog who is still trying to get in that industry, which we love doing. So when you do finally get that click or you get that production company, look at the young talent coming up and say, what can they offer? And maybe they just need a helping hand and they can be amazing.
Yeah, and what an amazing offer to guide opportunity to guide someone as well, because that teaches you so much about yourself as a human anyway. Oh my goodness.
Charlotte,
okay.
shh.
Yeah, it's time for me to shush. It's time for us to go. We did at least keep it under the hour mark, but I think this is our longest one yet. But
we were talking about 2 collaborative partnerships, so
Yes.
technically we've wrapped early.
yeah, you've got double the episode.
Yeah,
all
perfect.
wrapped up into one creative partnership bow. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Our socials will follow next in the next tag. And Bella, thank you for being my creative partner. I'm feeling really loved up right now.
I love you, Charlotte.
I love you too. And thank you, Emily, and thank you, Peter,
Pleasure.
so much.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us, and keep listening to the podcast.
Oh,
Yes.
It's amazing.
You can come on anytime. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Post Dramatic Stress. To connect with us or to register to come on the podcast, visit us at www.lettingcharlotteout.com or email us via postdramaticstresspod@gmail.com.